Welcome back to another episode of the Goonery. Got myself, the innkeeper, here alongside Beans, Brandon Colley. A little bit of a light crew today, but that's okay. We're excited to dive into what we got to talk to you guys about today. Brandon, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I A couple hours ago saw Noel Arenado make a grand entrance as a Cardinal to Busch Stadium. That was awesome to see, and I'm happy to have a actual star on our team. No disrespect to Paul Goldschmidt, but Arenado is that guy.
Yeah, Arenado's that he's filling the void of what the Cardinals have been missing since Pujols left almost a decade ago to go out and play in
Hmm.
LA. I mean, Arenado, in my opinion, is that special of a player where
Agreed.
if he finishes out his career there, I would not be surprised to see him get a statue at Busch Stadium.
That's a bold proposition considering who has gotten statues, and that's like among the greatest of the greats. But you know, best case scenario, he does get a statue because that means he was that damn good.
Yeah, for your guys' sake, I hope he is. But we're gonna jump into our Goonery of the Weeks. Brandon, you want to kick us off here?
Sure. So we're a week into the baseball season, and we see the MLB is already doing a lot of stupid stuff. And you can complain about a lot. You can complain about the extra inning stuff, the non-universal DH, but and even today's debacle with the Mets and Marlins, which that deserves a segment in of its own right. But I'm gonna get into that. I will get into the Cincinnati Reds, Nick Castellanos, which is ironic because I'm going to be crapping on him, and it's ironic because he shares the same last name as my girlfriend. So no disrespect, girlfriend, but I have to talk about this. So on Saturday, I don't know if the Cardinals got fed up, quote unquote, with him bat flipping home runs and stuff like that. But a rookie pitcher by the name of Jake Wolford, he hit Nick Castellanos, and I think a lot of people were perceiving it as being intentional because of the bat flipping. And as a result, a wild pitch and a scored run led to Castellanos screaming at Wolford's face, and benches cleared, whatever, whatever. And I'm confused because I'm this may be the Cardinal fan in me, but I'm confused as to why in game two of a 162 game schedule do you feel the need to scream at somebody's face after scoring a run? But I also had to think this is the Cincinnati Reds. They've been a popular organization for how long now? So I guess you have to inject some spark into you when the people that's been beating your asses for how many years now, you're actually winning against them. So I guess that's the case here. But I want to touch on the two things. One, the people that saying that it was soft for the Cardinal fans to feel how they feel about Castellanos and what he was doing, or saying that it was intentional. While I truly do not believe that they was have a rookie pitcher go out there and bean somebody, because that makes no sense. You're not gonna put a guy that's a rookie and not even a highly touted rookie out there in a position like that. That's number one. Number two, while I am crapping on Castellanos, I'm gonna crap on the MLB. Now, did what he did not even deserve an ejection and didn't even deserve a suspension. So in this regard, MLB has to do better. You're being soft, and you see stuff like that, and you're just like, damn, baseball really just don't let you celebrate. And granted, regardless if it was a stupid celebration, in my opinion, regardless, it just didn't make sense for that to warrant a suspension and an ejection. So MLB is also a really bad start this year. Umpires are they're making the case that they should have robots in place for them. So if they really, really, really care about their product, do what the NFL isn't doing, and that's hold your officials accountable. Because once you do that, there will be an incentive to call games the right way, and it will be less mistakes.
Yeah, just to touch on the umpiring that we've seen in Major League Baseball this year. I follow a Twitter page that I started following a few weeks back. I forgot the exact name. Let me find it real quick. It's umpire scorecards. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but basically, it's every home. It breaks down after each game the home plate umpire and their overall accuracy, the overall favor of which team, the overall consistency, the outside zone accuracy, the inside zone accuracy. It gives you their worst missed calls, and it breaks it down really, really well. And my White Sox started out, they had a rough start on the West Coast, and I'm not blaming it all on umpiring because the Sox played like absolute dog shit. There's no backing it up, but you can see it like just looking at from uh, from yesterday. the Phillies and the Mets, there was an overall favor of plus 1.81 runs for the Mets, but the Mets still lost 8-2. So the Phillies took advantage of that somehow, and they still did well. So it's a really interesting page. I suggest you checking it out. But back to Castellanos. I'm of the opinion that people are complaining that baseball's a dying game. No one wants to watch baseball. Baseball's not exciting. The MLB suspended Nick Castellanos 2 games for that, and you could bet your bottom dollar every promotional video that comes out of this season, you're going to see Castellanos in Yadier Molina's face screaming at him, and that's just the hypocrisy of Major League Baseball and why they continue to shoot themselves in the foot. Happened with the White Sox in 2019 when Tim Anderson hit the home run in April. It was a meaningless April game, just like this was, but he turned around and he threw the bat at the dugout after he homered off of Brad Keller after Brad Keller had repeatedly been talking shit about Tim Anderson, saying he's overrated, the success won't last, and look at him now, look at Brad Keller now. That's my point. Do I think Castellanos should have taken that hit by pitch the way he did? No. I forgot what the pitcher's name was, but I was looking into it the day it happened. He was all over the place with his accuracy. He couldn't locate a fastball. I don't think that that's something that would happen, but I do understand where the Reds were coming from and why the rest of baseball fans are upset at the Cardinals, why people are upset at Castellanos. I see both sides. I do. I just think honestly, it's an overreaction from Major League Baseball, Cardinal fans, Red fans, Castellanos, everyone involved, to be completely honest with you. But that is, I would say, one of the more notable moments of the first week of the season.
And not to take anything from Castellanos because he's also a blazing start on the season, but I mean, I think one of the messages I have to send to a lot of people whose teams either struggling or teams are off to a blazing start. Remember, it's only April. I've seen a lot of crazy things happen over the course of a season. Remember, I'm a Cardinals fan and I was there for 2011. Okay. So, if your team is struggling right now and they're not hitting all cylinders, I mean, despite the fact that Cardinals are 5-2, you're not hitting all that well. Their pitching is very, very suspect. It's not something to worry about, but it's also it's something to worry about. It's also something not to worry about. There's a lot of things that can go, happen during the season. So it's just a matter of just being patient. And I should be the last person saying this, but it's okay to spread advice, even though if you don't follow your own.
How are you feeling about your Cardinals start so far this year?
So I would say today was a bit of luck. And with the shortstop tripping and not covering second base, it's been lucky. But I will say the pleasant surprise for me, because I kind of had a feeling that the outfield was going to struggle. A young group, and they're still trying to find their footing. They're still missing their actual starting center fielder, Harrison Bader. Now, the one thing I'm extremely happy about is the guys that are supposed to produce are producing. Arenado, Goldschmidt, Tommy Edman, who's filling in for Colton Wong. And, when Colton Wong first departed, I was like, damn, that defense is going. And he was actually a really, really good hitter. And you have Tommy Edman filling in, and he's just making dazzling plays on the diamond. And I'm just like, it's like he never left. It's like he could possibly win a Gold Glove at second base. So I'm happy about that. The one thing I am concerned about is the outfielders. Now, I have no problem with Dylan Carlson. Dylan Carlson has 4 hits on the season, and 3 of them are home runs. That's something you want to see out of your outfielders, because we didn't get a lot of power production a year ago. So that's a pleasant surprise. But then you have Tyler O'Neill, who has struck out at least 16, 17 times in about 25 at-bats. You have Justin Williams, who's still in for Harrison Bader. And Justin Williams is not ready for that kind of playing time. So it's tough on them. And look, and this is low-key the reason why they should have gotten an outfielder after they traded Dexter Fowler. But at the end of the day, these kids are still young. You have to give them a chance to grow. Tyler O'Neill is actually getting a chance to start every day. So he's getting more and more at bats. So that's good for him, but he also needs to produce. And the bad thing is, if he doesn't produce, who are we going to replace him with? There's nobody in the Cardinals organization that's suitable enough to take that position from him. So I'm feeling good about the Cardinals now, but also I know there's reason to be concerned.
No, that's very valid. And your guy Jake Flaherty, he had a great start after a rough one to start the year. I mean, that's what you need to see out of your ace. And he's one of my favorite pitchers to watch in baseball. He's very meticulous on the mound, and I like watching guys like that. I think your Cardinals are in a good. I mean, obviously early, 6 games in for them, I believe, right? They're 4-2, I think they're sitting at. I mean, 6 games, but
5-2,
I
I
think,
think.
yeah, I think they're in really good shape to win the NL Central, just considering the Cubs look like absolute doo doo. The Brewers are going to be the Brewers. They'll be past all year, I think. And then the Reds, the Reds and the Pirates. Reds will give you a headache, I think, at some points. There's
Yeah,
going to be that thorn in your
definitely.
side. I mean, the rest of the year, those games are going to be tough because of the Castellanos thing that happened. It's just going to be chippy. And the
Hmm.
Pirates are young. They look like they're a quadruple A team at this point, reading their lineup cards. I mean, Ke'Bryan Hayes, I mean, you've been hearing about that name for years. He
Yeah,
comes up, he hit the
he's good.
opening day homer, and then he hit the IL, unfortunately. But I think he's going to be a superstar
He's
in
good.
Major League Baseball. Yeah, I actually saw a hypothetical on some White Sox fan tweeted out saying, White Sox fans, would you trade Ke'Bryan Hayes straight up for Yohan Moncada right now? I personally wouldn't, but there was people saying yes. So I mean, it's interesting to me just seeing how easily people give up on Moncada, which it's gonna be interesting with him. I mean, 2019 he got MVP votes, and then last year the COVID shortened season he played like absolute garbage. He played in the COVID like symptoms, but then you find out he was frequenting strip clubs in Northwest Indiana all season, and then in the off season he put out a pop song. So it's been quite a few years for Makata, but that's gonna kind of parlay into my Goonery of the week. I'm gonna go at just the White Sox front office because there's a very clear rift between the front office and Tony La Russa right now because Jerry Reinsdorf has told the front office that this is Tony La Russa's team. And the front office obviously shouldn't be making the lineups, but I think the front office has the right to have influence on the lineups. You have our number one prospect, Andrew Vaughn, hasn't seen pitching above live A other than or single A other than spring training. He comes up, he gets his first hit the second game of the Mariners series, learning a new position, playing left field hasn't been horrible. Gets his first career hit, sits the next night, whatever. I get it. We get to opening day today, home opener for the White Sox, and after we had our second or third outfielder in the last 2 weeks hit the IL with Billy Hamilton going down, the Sox recall Nick Williams from the Schaumburg site, who played for the Phillies for a few years. He's an okay left-handed bat, but do fans really want to see Nick Williams playing over Andrew Vaughn? No. I mean, there's a very clear rip there. If you're not going to play Vaughn at this point, why aren't you keeping him down to maintain that service time? I know some people might scream service time manipulation, but if Tony La Russa doesn't think Vaughn's ready to play, what's the point of having him out and burning that extra year? And then just I mentioned Nick Williams. The lack of depth on the White Sox is incredibly concerning. And people on White Sox Twitter tend to argue with each other about this, saying that everyone complains that the Sox whiff on every major free agent. But someone made a great point I saw today. Someone said all I wanted was Tommy LaStella to be a utility guy for us. Be that type of Ben Zobrist guy who can play just about any position on the field if you see someone go down. But instead we have Larry Garcia, who was a shortstop, transitioned to an outfielder, now playing shortstop, and Danny Mendick back up from the Schaumburg site, and Nick Williams in the outfield, Adam Eaton still getting a legit probably 155 games by the end of the year, which is very concerning. And Eloy Jimenez still hurt. It's just very concerning that they did not set themselves up for success. I get it was a layaway day, their last game in Seattle. They blew that yesterday. But it looked like a lineup reminiscent of 2016 White Sox. It was just very, very concerning, confusing, and they're back on the right track. Lance Lynn threw an absolute gem today, complete game. I think he had 10 Ks. Saved the bullpen because Tony La Russa hasn't been able to manage the bullpen either since he's returned. And Sox can't play defense either. So I'm just very confused about the state of the Chicago White Sox right now. And I just hope that they turn it around. It was a very lively ballpark today, home opener. I was only able to catch a little bit of it. I had work, but I saw the first 3 innings, I would say, and I think they solved the Eloy Jimenez problem with Yermin Mercedes. I'm not sure if you've watched him at all, just seen his swing at all. That man can hit.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, I
But
mean, he's built like a fucking fullback.
yeah.
He's listed. I mean, he's listed at like 5'11", 245. I was looking at the roster. He is probably about 5'9", 270. He is just, and he's going to be the new fan favorite. He hit the concourse in his first at bat today.
Yeah. So rocket. So it's funny that you mentioned the rift between LaRussa and the front office, because I was listening to a show based in New York, ESPN New York's Michael K show.
Mm-hmm.
And the discussion was about how there's certain managers that simply just wouldn't come back to manage unless they have some type of control. And I don't think that Jerry Reinsdorf was thinking when he hired Tony La Russa, because with all these guys that was managing in the early 2000s and 90s or even 80s for La Russa's standpoint, these are guys that are winners, and they're used to having their own control. And when they don't have it, it becomes a thing of a disaster, because you're so used to running your team how you feel like running it. But now the game has shifted to all these computer geeks that's up in the front office doing analytics and telling the managers what to do. So even as a guy looking on, how in the hell did they not see this coming? Everybody saw this coming, because everybody knows LaRussa is not a guy that's going to be in control. He won championships. And it don't even matter what Jerry Reinsdorf, what he did owning teams, whether it was Chicago Bulls or Chicago White Sox. LaRussa's his own guy. So the White Sox are in a precarious situation, because now if they don't capitalize on a season like this, where the American League is somewhat wide open. I, I mean,
Would
granted,
I
I
no?
think.
I would argue that it's. I would argue it's the Sox and Yankees at the top, and Blue Jays are probably going to be a little bit of a threat. They're a very young team. The
Mhm.
Astros look phenomenal right now. The A's and the Angels too. I mean, the AL West and I think the East will be the biggest battles, I would say, because then with the Central, you obviously have the Sox and the Twins who are going to compete all year. The Tigers are just bottom of the barrel. They're rebuilding. That's where the Sox were 3 years ago. It sucks, but it's the reality for Tiger fans. The Royals, they can hit, they just can't pitch. That's for sure. And then the Indians are just they're weird. They're going to end up having some pitcher that they just find out of nowhere again this year, who ends up getting traded, and they just start the rebuild because they're in no man's land right now. I think the Indians.
Mhm. For sure. And it would be a shame to see a team that is built to win now. I mean, considering they hired one of the greatest managers of all time, whether he's out of his prime or not, it would be a shame if they don't like get far at least this year, or at least win a division or something. And like I said, everything's early, so that I think that's the good thing. But at the same time, you would hope for a better start.
No, absolutely. And I'm just happy that all of these injuries are happening now in April, the first 2 weeks of the year, instead of August when they just collapsed. Like last year, obviously, they were the number one team in baseball. In baseball, they had the best record in baseball with I think 10 games left to go, and they ended up being a wild card team. And
Mhm.
obviously, it's a pandemic season, but it happens. You go on skids like that. They're without Anderson right now. No Eloy. They don't have Adam Engel still not back. I mean, obviously Billy Hamilton now, not like Billy Hamilton's that much of a difference maker, but it's the difference between Billy Hamilton and Nick Williams at this point. And it's just very frustrating because knowing the White Sox, they know that they're going to need another outfielder at the deadline when they could have gotten depth throughout the offseason, and they're going to end up trading for probably another reliever because that's just what the White Sox do, and that's all it comes down to.
I
But
felt that. I felt that
yeah,
because it feels like every single year the Cardinals have outfield issues. Like they haven't gotten it right since I believe maybe when Matt Holliday and
mm-hmm,
Carlos Beltran and you had John Jay in center.
yeah,
It hasn't been the same since, and it's concerning. And I was thinking about this earlier today. Just randomly think about it, with O'Neal struggling and Justin Williams not able to find his footing, and Harrison Bader, regardless of him being on the injured list, he's really not that big of a difference. It's just concerning when the Cardinals feel so they feel like they can build from within too much, and that drives them away from getting anybody they need. And whether people want to admit it or not, in baseball, you got to win you got to buy your championships, because you look at the Dodgers, the Astros, expect the Cubs are probably the perfect example.
Yep.
You gotta buy your championships, man. And once they get along with that, I get it, because people seem like they like playing for the Cardinals. So if the Cardinals were to throw some money, some people gonna want to play there.
It's one of the most historic franchises in baseball. I mean, in sports, I would argue in American sports, the Cardinals are in the upper echelon of respected franchises, and it's for a reason. They have a history of sustained success. I mean,
Hmm.
it's the truth. And then, like for my White Sox, you look at the White Sox. No one really wants to go play there. They're considered the little brother in the city. They have a cheap owner who just refuses to spend money. And like you mentioned, John Jay. John Jay was the Sox version of, oh, we found another outfielder 2 years ago, and it's just John Jay, old friend alert. The White Sox, I have more old friend alerts on Twitter from White Sox players scattered throughout the league than I think any other sports team has. Just the random rag. It's the island of misfit toys. That's the perfect way to describe the White Sox the last decade. I mean, it's unbelievable, unbelievable. But some other MLB news that I just saw pop up is that Trevor Bauer is being investigated for suspicious baseballs by Major League
No
Baseball.
way.
Yep, I saw that about 2 minutes before we started the show. Trevor Bauer, I didn't read it, but Trevor Bauer is supposedly multiple baseballs that are being investigated by Major League Baseball for suspicious activity. And I'm not one to dump. I mean, I'm not a huge Trevor Bauer guy, but if you look at his career statistics, I mean, he was up until 2018, he never had an ERA below 4.19. And then 2018, he went to 2.21. And then 2019 in Cleveland, he had 3.79. But then when he went to Cincy, when he got traded, he had 6.39. 2020, he had 1.73. I get that he's like the most analytically driven player probably in Major League Baseball. He's into all the goofy, like, I'm not going to call it goofy because it works clearly for other players, but people have been calling Bauer out for a while for the suspicious shit because he's always grabbing the brim of his hat, seeing if he has pine tar up there. He can obviously clearly check for that, but there's something up with Bauer. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with him because he just signed himself a massive contract.
I'll tell you this: while you may not be a big Bauer guy, I genuinely so it's funny because I saw a tweet with athletes, celebrities, anyone included, who has the most punchable face in your opinion? It's him. And along with his punchable face, he has just the arrogance of somebody you would think won at least 4 Cy Youngs. I was so confused when he had this whole free agency thing of where am I gonna go? Am I gonna go here? I'm gonna drop these hype videos so people get excited for where I'm going. In reality, a lot of people don't give a shit. The only reason why we give a shit is because you won a Cy Young last year in a shortened season, mind you.
60
A
gamer, and
60 game season, you won a Cy Young, and you think you can stick your chest out and think you hot shit. I'm telling you, he is the most just unbearable sports personality I've ever seen. He's one of them, and there's a lot of them because I don't like a lot of people, but him, he's one of the worst, and that's saying a lot.
yeah, he is. Don't get me wrong. If he would have ended up signing with the White Sox, I'd be beating the drum saying I love Trevor Bauer. If I mean, don't I probably would have and call it hypocritical, whatever. He would have been on my team. I would have been cheering for him. But another thing that really irks me about Trevor Bauer off the field is he's just fucking stupid. He's the
Yes.
same guy who almost cut his fingers off with his drone because he was just fucking around with his drone on the day he was supposed to pitch. And then his just complete and utter reluctance to admit that he's dating his agent. I mean, I'm sure have you seen
She's
those
a pretty
pictures?
girl.
Oh no, she is. So I don't get what his problem is, but like I mean, there's these posts. They're both posting pictures of each other on social media. It's like you guys are. There's something going on there. No one cares. Like no one cares. Just admit it. And God, God, I hate Trevor Bauer. I hope something comes out and the Dodgers get screwed though on this. I really do, because if he does get caught with shit being screwed with these baseballs by the league, that kind of screws the Dodgers over, not only financially but the rotation too. And I would laugh. I mean, I'm a White Sox fan. I don't care. People laugh at me all the time for being a White Sox fan. I'll laugh at the Dodgers. People don't laugh at them really that often.
I'll tell you this: if he gets caught, I'm gonna have a field day with it. I mean, they gotta put David Price in their rotation. I have nothing against David Price, but he's not a starter anymore. But yeah, if he was a Cardinal, like if the news dropped he was a Cardinal, I probably would have quoted it with the picture of Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin shaking hands. Like, I don't like the guy, but if we're gonna make this work, then let's make it work. But since he's not, I have all rights to just genuinely dislike him. But if he gets caught, I'm gonna have a field day with it. I'm going to have a field day with it. And by the way, claim you're good before one of your teammates do.
So here, speaking of Rachel Luba, my buddy just sent me the tweet. So Ken Rosenthal tweeted out the story, and the first reply is from his agent Rachel Luba, and she put in quotes, "Latest crackdown by league being put to test." End of quotes. ... Applauded effort to make a story out of nothing though, with a clapping emoji. Oh,
I guarantee all the
old
players
takes
that
exposed. Old takes exposed that.
100%. And I guarantee you, for any other player that she represents, it would not be that way. Not at all.
Oh oh man. Yeah, so it's been a pretty exciting first week of baseball, all things considered. It really has, and I'm happy about that. I'm sure Major League Baseball is happy about that. It's been pretty cool just hearing the sounds of people in the stadium again. I mean, it's kind of a relief. Things are getting back to normal. And speaking of getting back to normal, this weekend, another 2-night WrestleMania with 25% capacity at Raymond J Stadium. First time WWE has had fans since the pandemic has started. It's going to be very, very interesting to see the crowd reactions to people, because I know when I've been watching, I have my reactions to people I'm seeing on TV. It's going to be very interesting to see if people in the crowd are reacting how backstage things are going to react.
So wrestling has been the same, obviously. I think while we have seen people shine throughout the pandemic in terms of like the recently stupidly broken up Hurt Business, and you have Drew McIntyre, you have Roman Reigns. There's been a lot of guys that's been carrying the honus for WWE while there hasn't been a lot of fans. And you just hope, because we've seen WrestleManias over the past couple of years, and we've seen. I want to say it was, I forgot what, because the numbers always confuse me, but the WrestleMania where Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar main evented for the second time, that crowd was dead, and it was in New Orleans. I just hope, for the sake that even if it's 25%, I just hope that the fans are cheering loud as humanly possible, because this is exactly what we've been waiting for as wrestling fans. Seeing fans back in the stands, someone getting a moment in front of fans. I am so looking forward to this event. Granted, if you have your opinions about how the thing's been built, that's on you. I mean, whatever. But I'm hyped. I'm hyped for WrestleMania. I am hyped to see the night after WrestleMania. Hell, I was hyped for Takeover Night 2, which I'm most likely gonna watch after this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hyped for it all.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest. I've been slacking off on my watching the weekly programming more than like ever the last couple of months, and that's completely, I don't even know what to blame it on, to be completely honest with you. School maybe, but it's when I do tune in, they've been doing a great job just with the weekly shows, and they've really adjusted well. I'm just excited it's 2 nights again. I love that, like when New Japan does the 2-night shows, and I'm very happy that WWE decided after last year doing the 2 nights to do it 2 nights again, because it allows every match to get ample amount of time, in my opinion, instead of trying to sandwich it into being a 7-hour card. By hour 4, you're like, Jesus Christ, now like this is so much to take in. Like, we're getting Seth Rollins and Cesaro at WrestleMania. That would not happen if it wasn't a 2-night show. And that is going to be the match of the weekend. I would put money on that if they give them enough time.
You know, I didn't think about what would be the match of the night, and that might be it. And I think one match that is really lurking under the radar: New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. I'm excited to see Omos in the ring.
Me too.
Dude,
Me too.
I mean, if you dress that good, you got to be good in the ring too. I mean, that's the best dress
He
dude in
every week he's coming out looking like a stallion. A
Apple. I mean, he
stallion.
looks like a star. He looks like a star. I'm hyped for that, and I'm glad AJ has a role, and there's a lot of people who don't have a role in WrestleMania that you would think that they would have a role. But I do think that it is the right crop of talent that is on WrestleMania. You're getting the match that I wasn't going to see, because way back, like a couple weeks back, maybe like a couple months back actually, I said I would love to see Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre go for WWE Championship. It's happening. You have the triple threat, the match I didn't know I needed with Daniel Bryan, Edge, and
Mm-hmm.
Roman Reigns. You have Bianca Belair and the lovely Sasha Banks, and gonna be in the main event.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there's a lot to look forward to, and stuff like this is why they should absolutely keep it 2 nights, because it have the wrestling fans be spoiled for the biggest weekend of the year for
Mm-hmm.
wrestling fans. Why not?
And you're talking about getting the right people on the card and it just feeling right. I remember reading something a few weeks back that the original, what was originally slated for AJ Styles at Mania was a one-on-one match with Triple H, and Triple H said no, he didn't want it. And
Mm,
part of me has to believe that's because Triple H kind of wants to build that new star in Omos. And
yeah.
I, I mean, he does have a great mind for the business, in my opinion. I think, I mean, not to take a quote from CM Punk, but the company might be a little better off storytelling wise after he's gone. I don't. I mean, it's the sad truth, but he's lost it a little bit. He's still the greatest wrestling man of all time, no doubt about that. But there's a lot of matches that I'm really excited for. I mean, specifically, like I mentioned, Cesaro Rollins. Another one that's kind of flying under the radar that I think is going to be a great match is Riddle and Sheamus. I love hard hitting styles like that. It's like, I like that a lot. And I know a lot of people aren't big on Matt Riddle, but I saw Riddle at a few independent shows a few years back. And ever since that, I've been a big fan of his, just because what he was doing in front of about 300, 400 people, just, it blew my mind. It blew my mind. And I think Sheamus, in my opinion, is the most underappreciated talent of the last 10, 15 years, like easily. Since he's coming to WWE, since what was it, like 08, 07, whatever it was, right around, or maybe
09.
two, yeah, 09. That's, yeah.
Mhm.
Like when he came in, I mean, since then, he's consistently performed and done what they've asked him to do. Still also very upset that they broke up the Bar. That's one of my favorite tag teams of all time.
Yeah, it was a really good tag team. They were so good.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn at
Oh,
WrestleMania too. I'm going through the match card here, and I don't see, there's probably gonna be one stinker on the card. Let's be completely honest. It's gonna be Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus Miz and Morrison. I just don't expect much out of that. But Damian Priest is gonna be made a star from that match. That's the absolute truth.
I'm gonna tell you this: don't sleep on Bad Bunny. Do not sleep on
Yeah.
Bad Bunny. And I know, this. If it was up to me, I would not have celebrity presence in a match setting for WrestleMania. But just hearing about the things that he literally moved to Orlando to train and be good
Okay.
at this stuff, I can appreciate that. There's not a lot of guys that would do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if really being honest, but um, I must be honest. I think the stinker, and I hate to say this,
I think I know where you're
Randy
going.
Orton and
Yeah,
Bray
I
Wyatt's
knew
gonna,
that's where you were going.
and I'm gonna call it, and because I was gonna ask you what your bold prediction is, but my bold prediction: the Randy Orton Bray Wyatt match will go no longer than 5 minutes.
Oh, I
Bray
would I
will
would
watch him.
Oh, I think it's gonna be less than that, to be completely honest with you. I mean, how long has Bray Wyatt been off of TV? 5 months, maybe 4 or 5 months.
Almost.
Yeah, and they've just been running the story with him and Alexa Bliss, which I think it's been weird, but that's what they've been going for. Obviously, I mean, we saw intergender wrestling, if you want to call it that, in WWE, which was something we haven't seen in God knows how long. And if they don't have the Fiend squash Randy Orton in less than 5 minutes, it's a failure. Because if you're keeping him off of TV for that long, to bring him back to this anticipated match where you don't even have a stipulation, which is what I like. I think that they're really going to have the Fiend come out there. I bet Randy Orton's going to hit him with a quick RKO right out of the gate, and he's going to sit up like he's the Undertaker.
Yep.
I really expect that to happen. He comes and he hit the mandible claw, and that's it. Like I really think it's gonna. I really could see it going under 2 minutes, or I could see them just having Randy Orton go over and ruining the Fiend because it's Bray Wyatt, and it just seemed to ruin everything that he does.
Yeah, like since the Masters is this week, it's like a traditional no, unlike any other. I mean, let's call it what it is at this point. But but yeah. So let me ask you, what is your bold prediction for this weekend's WrestleMania?
I think that we see Drew McIntyre. I think we see Drew McIntyre win the WWE title, but it's from a distraction by MVP. And MVP's newest client is none other than Keith Lee.
Lee. Yeah,
I
yeah.
I,
You
re- I
know
really
what?
I
You know what?
really I really do see something along those lines coming because I've seen what MVP's been putting on social media that the Hurt Business is not closed. They're looking for new clients to fit the bill, and I think that MVP is going to try and say it's the newer guy, the guy with more. He thinks Keith Lee has more talent, more potential, and I just see them Keith Lee and Bobby Lashley then having an awesome feud.
I love that idea. Absolutely love it. And but I will say this. I like Drew McIntyre a lot. I really do. But this ain't his mania to win the title.
I don't think it is either, but I think that
I think
WWE
he
is
will
just going
win
to
though. He's
try.
gonna
Yeah, I
win.
do. I think they're going to give him his moment in front of the crowd because he legitimately carried Raw the majority of the pandemic, and I think they're going to give him that moment in front of the fans. Not that Bobby Lashley's doing the best work of his entire career. Bobby
Yep.
Lashley is awesome.
He's on
He's
a roll
awesome.
right now.
Yeah, I mean, he is as must watch as anyone in professional wrestling right now, in my opinion. And shout out to MVP, man. Like, honestly, shout out to MVP. He has been nothing short of incredible since he's come back to WWE. And when he first came back after the Rumble last year, it was right. Yeah, I think
Yep.
last Rumble. Yeah, when he first came back and he jobbed a few matches right out of the gate. I was kind of like, really, we're doing this? Like, we're actually going to have him in the ring full time right now. He's like 46, 47, whatever he is. He can't really go like he used to. And he was never a great worker to begin with, to be completely honest. He's just charisma out the eyeballs. And I mean, he's incredible. He had this vision when he came back to WWE, and it succeeded. It succeeded, and the reason I really do think we're going to see this Keith Lee esque turn, kind of reminiscent of the Big Show screwing over Lesnar with Heyman type of thing. I think we're going to see that just because you haven't seen Keith Lee in months since he tested positive for COVID,
Hmm.
and that's just I think that, and I could also see something along the lines of what I would love to see. It'll never happen if we saw like a Willow version of Jeff Hardy come out and confront the Fiend because there's no Jeff Hardy on the card. That'll never happen ever, but that'd be pretty cool. I think. How about you?
How in how I mean Jeff Hardy is still because Jeff Hardy's in that Rey Mysterio stage of his career where he is one of the hottest commodities, but he's not being used in the proper manner.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Hardy, to me, I think if he goes to the Willow character, it will give him a jolt and it'll give something fans that they haven't seen before. Because a lot of fans that's watching WWE, they ain't watched TNA back in those days. So
Mm-hmm.
give him something new and give something Jeff Hardy to do because he's just jobbing out to dudes every weekend. It's like he could be a WWE Championship contender. He doesn't need to win it, but he could be a contender. He has a lot. Listen, if that man is still willing to kill himself, he is a hot commodity. Period.
The man is in his mid 40s right now, and he's not popping pills like he used to anymore to make the pain go away. And he's just doing it for the love of the game. I hate to say it's horrible to say it like that, but it's the absolute truth. Him and his brother, they're not gonna be able to walk by the time they're 60 if they're even alive from the pain and like torture they've done to their bodies, to be completely honest with you. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame. You mentioned Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is not on this card. No Jeff Hardy. No Bailey, which is a shocker to me. Um, it's crazy. It's crazy some of the names that aren't on this card. I'm not complaining because I'm very much looking forward to this card. But what's your bold prediction for the weekend?
Oof. Um, my bold prediction for the weekend. Um, I have a feeling that Roman Reigns will retain on night two.
Really?
I have a feeling he will retain on night two.
I honestly, I think he's the least likely to retain the belt in that entire match. I think that do I think he should lose the belt? No. I think he should continue on this until WrestleMania next year and have a match with The Rock. To be like that would be ideal situation because I mentioned Bobby Lashley and MVP being one of the best, most watched things in wrestling right now. But Roman Reigns, in my opinion, has been the best thing in professional wrestling for months now. Months. I mean,
Absolutely.
he's on another level. And I've always been a Roman fan. I've never disliked him. I was never one of the people who were booing him. I think he does great work, and he's gotten much better on the mic since he can kind of have that edge to him
Much
now.
better.
He's
Much better.
he's not calling people suffering succotashes anymore, whatever the hell it was, the one that everyone likes to make fun of him for. But I think, well, actually, I'm kind of thinking about it now. I think he does retain because I don't think they're going to give Daniel Bryan that moment again in a triple threat match where he's the underdog who people think has no shot. So I don't think they'll repeat that twice in 7 years. And I mean, I think Edge does get one more run with the belt before he laces him up. But I don't know. I don't know. Now, yeah, I kind of have convinced myself into Roman retaining now.
Yeah, because if Edge wins, I would not be surprised. I think Edge is probably gonna hold that belt maybe till SummerSlam
Man.
or something. Maybe Money in the Bank. He gets cashed in on. Roman Reigns winning the Money in the Bank and just absolutely obliterating him. I don't know, but what I do know is there is no loser for the fans. Whoever retains, because you can make an argument that people don't want to see Drew McIntyre retain. I'm one of those people. And I know a lot of those people who do not want Drew McIntyre to win the championship. But in this situation is you wouldn't mind Daniel Bryan winning the championship because it's just for your absolute admiration for him. I love Daniel Bryan. If he holds the championship for months on net, I'm happy. He is amazing. If Roman Reigns wins, he continues on his best run of his career. And truthfully, I think he's reached that point where he doesn't need a championship to be as great as he is. And then when Edge is just a feel-good story and his character change, how is that going to play into his title reign? Because right now we getting that Edge that as a kid I hated.
Rated our superstar Edge, yeah. Like the Edge that you wanted to punch the TV every time he walked onto your screen.
So it's we all getting a winner in that match. We are all getting a winner. But as we know, because wrestling fans are the biggest whiner, complaining weirdos on this planet, so they will find a way to complain about anything that happens. So I guess you just gotta deal with it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a sad reality that regardless of how great, I mean, looking at this on paper, there is no way in hell that this card underperforms and it's not good. There's just too much talent. There's too much talent, and people will still find something to nitpick about. I mean, it's the truth. Wrestling fans can never be happy. It's the most toxic corner of the internet, in my opinion, is wrestling fans, and there's nothing you can do about it. But I'm gonna enjoy the show. I know I will. I know you
Oh, I will
will.
too.
Oh,
Because
I mean,
I'm just a wrestling fan that just enjoys the little things, and
Hmm.
everyone wants the absolute most. I'm just here because I love WrestleMania. I'm not going to nitpick about it. I don't have a match. I only have one match that I'm really rooting for someone to win, and that's it. That's and other than that, I'm going to enjoy the show.
No, I'm with you on that end. I do you think we see any in-ring cameos from any of the new Hall of Fame inductees?
Is
Because
I don't think so, but if anyone's gonna make one, anyone but Hulk Hogan.
I think it'll be. I think we're going to see a little backstage, and not in ring, but I think we'll see a backstage segment with RVD and Matt Riddle. I just think the pop that they would get, and from they don't even have to say anything, just cross paths, look at each other, give each other a fist bump. That would pop people, and I think that they're smart. At the end of the day, I think they're smart enough to do that.
Also, so I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna just go on and say I think Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax are gonna retain their
Mhm.
tag team championships, and they will cross paths with the Bella Twins, and there you go. I don't want it
Yeah,
either. I think the Bella Twins
no,
are
no,
insufferable, but
yeah, no, yep. I will say though, Nikki Bella's last run in the ring was not bad. I mean, it was much better than what it was in the past. But yeah, no, I don't need to watch Brie Bella ever in a wrestling ring ever again. Not that Nia Jax is any better, to be completely
yeah,
honest with you, but I just you put down. Yep,
yeah.
we're
I
gonna
mean,
see that. We're gonna see that.
and I like Brie Bella way more than Nikki.
I
I
agree. I
but
agree. I
I
agree.
because the whole fiasco with John Cena, I'm just like, okay, this girl's annoying. I would hate for that to be my ex girlfriend.
Yeah. So speaking of John Cena, I saw you tweeted something out earlier today that kind of grinded my gears a little bit. While I understand it, I don't agree with it. And that was that you said Batista at his peak was better than John Cena, or something along those lines, right? It was right. Or yeah, here it is. Batista's peak was better than Cena's. Oh, there's a reason they went with Cena to be the flag bearer of the company over Batista at that period. And not that I don't love Batista. Batista was one of my absolute favorite, still is one of my absolute favorite wrestlers of all time. I do think Cena was able to evolve as a wrestler more than Batista was. That's my main argument. And I think that Cena has a few more memorable feuds as well. I just
So you're right about the last part. You're right about that. But let me explain. So there's some guys that are the flag bearers of the company that you're just like, eh. The perfect example of that is the guy that was Batista's protege, which was Triple H. We saw his reign of terror from 2002 to 2004, and everybody was sick of it. Guess what? When John Cena was the flag bearer for a very long time, guess what? People hated it. People was just like, and here's the thing. He evolved as a wrestler. But how long did it take for him to evolve as a wrestler? Because the thing about Cena was he was being pushed as the best. And then
mm,
you have Batista. And here's why I like big guys like Batista and Goldberg. They are there for one reason and one reason only. They are power move aficionados. They are not there to put on a technical masterpiece. And once people get to that point, you can enjoy them for what they are. Batista's run as the top guy on SmackDown,
SmackDown.
although it had a bump in the road with Mark Henry injuring him, he was just he was just cool. He was just cool. And you saw John Cena, it kind of just dipped for him. And I was a guy when he was a doctor of thugonomics. I'm like, all right, this guy's got something. And then we won the championship. I'm like, yeah, they're gonna strap the rocket to his ass, and he's gonna be the top guy. And then you kind of got into it more, and it got stale
No,
very, very, very fast.
I do agree that a lot of Cena's feuds in the late 2000s, early 2010s were very, very similar. But
Horrible.
don't get me wrong. I think that, in my opinion, my favorite feuds with Batista were the Undertaker and Probably, I mean, early Triple H feud, obviously, but like one that a lot of people I don't think really remember was his feud with Booker T. I thought that was an awesome feud with Batista and Booker T. And I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure they had real life heat, like and like they hated each other. So I'm pretty sure that's why that worked so well. But
Right.
like, and that's the reality with a lot of them. But I mean, if you look at Cena's best feuds, I mean, his feud with Edge, I love that feud. That's one of my favorites of all time. Where they had the TLC match where Cena ended up winning the belt back after he feud Edge off the top of the ladder through all the tables. I mean, that was I mean, I was
That was
drinking
cool.
the Cena. I was drinking the Cena Kool-Aid. Don't worry. And then someone came along from my hometown. CM Punk came into town, and once CM Punk reached
Hmm.
VCW, CM Punk was my guy. I had
Yeah.
heard of CM Punk. I never really like knew who he was, but like I was like young enough at the time where when like Blockbuster was still a thing, you'd go to Blockbuster and you'd rent the old wrestling tapes and you would see the Ring of Honor stuff there and you'd see CM Punk on the cover, but you never got it because it wasn't WWE at the time.
Hmm.
And I just think that Cena's feud with CM Punk is I would say that's his best. But then when he came back in what was it 2016, he had a phenomenal not that was kind of weird word usage, but unintentional. But with AJ Styles, I mean, I think that if Batista would have stuck around, I would absolutely probably agree with you. To be completely honest with you, because growing up, I always liked watching SmackDown more than Raw. But
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought SmackDown was a better show. Like it was just always more about wrestling. It still is more about wrestling, and I mean, I love Batista. So I mean, I'm not going to argue at the end of the day about this.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
here's the thing. John Cena is a cultural icon. You look at a picture and it was like, who is that? There's nobody there. Like he's that
yeah,
guy. And if you look at it from an outside view, you're just like, wow, he's the guy. But once you really like delve deep into certain things and like how he was, so I think a lot of people on Twitter know I absolutely despise Hulk Hogan.
yeah,
And it kind
most
of
people do.
reminded me, yeah, and it kind of his run kind of reminded me of Hulk Hogan. Now, granted, I'm 24 years old. I wasn't around for Hulk Hogan's old run, but hey, that's what the WWE Network's for, right?
Hmm.
So I've seen it, and I'm just like, this is boring, man. It's the same shit every week. I'm not down for this. So I think my biggest thing is you never got that with Batista. He was the top guy, but like he was pushed correctly, I guess you could say. He was an animal, and he didn't have a lot of people getting the upper hand in his matches because it wasn't believable. It wasn't believe he was a straight up animal. So I guess that's why I lean towards him more. But they're going to be tied at the hip forever because they had their rise at the
Yeah,
same exact
yeah.
time. So yeah.
I'll give Batista the edge on having the cooler entrance. I mean, every week as a little kid, you'd always be in front of the TV, boom, 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 and it
Hmm.
was. I mean, nah, Batista was awesome. There's no doubt about it. I hope we get to see him have one more one more small run, just like better than what he deserved. The give me what I want. I know he had the retirement match, but like I mean, he's just a walking meme now with the give me what I want video all over Twitter. And
Hmm.
Cena too. I hope he comes back. I hope he breaks Flair's record. I think we'll see it eventually. I don't know when, but I'm sure people will bitch and moan about that too. So that's that on being a wrestling fan. Oh, that's fair. I mean, it's fair. It's fair. It's very fair. But I mean, I think they'll would rather have Cena tied up with Flair than just
I
at
wouldn't hate it.
stage in the
I
game.
wouldn't hate
Yeah.
it. If it's the right storyline, I wouldn't hate it. But I expect it to happen sooner than later.
Yeah, I just hope he's not the guy who takes the belt off of Roman Reigns because that would be an absolute disaster. Like, I mean,
That'd be rough.
let a new star take it off of Reigns. Let's not go back to our old ways, and it'll be all right.
Yeah.
But after that, that's gonna wrap up our show. Thank you guys if you've made it this far for tuning in. We had a different show today, but I think it was a good one. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show on YouTube, on iTunes, and Spotify. And it's been a
I
pleasure.
have one more thing to say. DMX, get better, man. Get better.
On that note, we'll see you next week.